But there is another way, a necessary first step. If we are, and I'm now referring to the world of men, in the short run, unable to curb our own proclivities in the area of competition and conflict, be it for objective or subjective reasons, then there is still at least one thing we can do to safeguard this world. We can try and outlaw the very program policy of war and weaponry so that unavoidable conflicts are deprived of both the policy mechanism and the vital means of mutual annihilation. This can be achieved, at least nominally, as with any other such scheme of rights, and in terms of popular consciousness by means of an ongoing political program dedicated to its ouster. Women, I think, will need to take the lead here, since it's easy enough for men to slip into or be inveigled by instinctual appeals to jingoism. Men are programmed to respond well to such forms of impetus. They are, so to speak, natural samurai. Au contraire, I'm reminded of the heroic women of Greenham Common in England and many similar women's initiatives the world over who did just that. That is, took the lead to worldwide notice and attention in trying to block the installation of missiles on their soil, recalling obliquely the myth of Lysistrata. If women take up this cause of compelling nations to formally renounce wars in their national constitutions, I feel it will be virtually unstoppable. Besides, unlike men, the force they employ en général is passive, not active. And in nature, passive forces can frequently be stronger and even more enduring than active ones. The Gandhian notion of satyagraha, or truth-based action, is passive resistance, or all passive resistance rests on that very idea. In effect, all but unconsciously, Gandhi learned from women, and so can we. However, we must be careful not to let the force of sheer symbolism bind us. The renunciation of war as public policy is a first step only. It's an important step, but there are many remaining steps that will have to be taken up by the peace movement as a whole, here, there, everywhere. So this is the real agenda behind these peace congresses, hosted by us, which I would wish were replicated all over the world. Unbeknownst to ourselves, we each make war upon each other, albeit in small ways, sometimes voluntarily, that is gratuitously, at other times involuntarily, that is out of material or other necessity, real or perceived, almost continuously. Modernism exaggerates such interpersonal conflicts with its spurious ideology of universal egoism and universal competition. Tribal and traditional societies, au contraire, curb such impulses under a consensual ideology of mutualism. So, the rejection of modernist covetousness and competition are a relevant sub-agenda as well. Now, we know this is entirely achievable, so it's not fanciful, it's not abstract, because tribal societies, extant to this day, exemplify and embody such consensual forms. Typically, if in modern irony, we dismiss such vital exemplars as primitive and savage. So we do have a choice today: to push on with the competitive struggle for monopoly over global resources, that is called free trade, or to strive towards the mores of a convivial society, where less is more and contentment is preferred to avarice. Indeed, women, even in the prison of patriarchy, have practiced these virtues quite unconsciously for millennia. Now, these are ultimately, if only at the level of the individual, switches in the head that can be turned off and on at will. You can try it yourself. You'll discover that your inner being is quite free of culture, race, or nation. We are one, or can experience oneness at that deep level of consciousness. So we're not foredoomed to think this way or that, owing to these attributes. They do not govern us, save when we choose to let them. The only recognizable, natural, quote-unquote, difference of significance instinctually between us hominids is the inner makeup of the two subspecies of humanity, men and women. That much is an irreducible ontological given. But anthropic culture, that is hierarchies of self-ordained values, adds yet another layer of ideological difference, or several layers of ideological difference that are both significant and important to all societies. However, these two caveats apart, the imagined universe of modernism, which standardizes all culture, in an amoral universe of perpetual acquisitiveness, is pure societal fantasy. So let's have done with the fantasy of boundless profit, the fantasy of illimitable productions, and the fantasy of illimitable consumption. It is not my belief that our lives should be dedicated but to incessant laboring and consuming, where the joy of sheer being is expunged as in today's world. The Bushmen have more genuine leisure time than we do, which puts our desperate modernist lives in stark relief. So let's declare here and now that we hold such truths to be self-evident, that we will not let the jingoists, the warmongers, the exploiters con us, co-opting us into plans for world domination, whether by commerce or cannon. So, let us all help today and in the coming days to make the publicly sanctioned conduct of war obsolete. An artifact of the past in the popular imagination as a necessary prelude, an important prelude, to eliminating it in practice. Indeed, we have no real choice here. If we don't make war itself obsolete, the modes of collective violence we have today will render us all extinct as a species, and we don't have much time. Be aware that there are no weapons that men invent, and it is men, not women, who invent such things, that are not used sooner or later. And the weapons we possess in this era can only be used once. There will be no thereafter. So once again, we have no choice. We are the planet. We're not apart from it. And we stand poised today on the knife edge of that very, very dangerous threshold. The choice, if it's indeed that, if I can call it that, is between modernism and civilization, between patriarchy and conviviality, between the reptiles and the mammals, between war and peace. Women have always shown us the way, silently, without fuss or fanfare. Let them, in their unique way, lead this struggle today. And I mean it, lead this struggle today. And for that very reason, let the rest of us men learn and follow best as we can. In that alone lies the possibility, slender as it is, of our collective redemption. Thank you, and I wish you all well.